So this demonstration is for carving a maxillary first molar. Let's see how to proceed. Now if you see the dimension of maxillary first premolar, the cervico-incisal dimension is 8 millimeters. So I approximately take 8 millimeters on all the four sides. That represents the cervico-incisal dimension or cervico-occlusal dimension. So I mark 8 millimeters, a little bit more probably. Now let's mark the sides. Now this will be the buccal side represented by B. Opposite of that will be lingual or palatal. Now this will be, say, distal. On the other side I'll mark it as mesial. Now one advantage of carving a molar is we might have to reduce very little wax. I mean to say, suppose if you're carving a maxillary or a mandibular incisor, we remove a lot of wax, isn't it? For molar, the removal of wax is not as much because the dimension of the block is quite suitable for a molar. So in that regard, it's a bit easy relatively, but the intricacies on the occlusal surface slightly makes it a bit difficult, so you need a little bit of practice. So yeah, so I think the cervico-incisal dimension is slightly more. I kind of reduce. So all of you please take 8 millimeters, measure with the ruler and mark 8 millimeters. Now I am facing the buccal side. The most important point to get the work done for carving a maxillary molar is establishing the crest of curvature on all the four sides. The crest of curvature on the buccal side is within the cervical 1/3 area, right? So for that, what we do is, now let's divide roughly. Now this is cervical 1/3, middle and incisal 1/3. I want the crest of curvature on the buccal side to be in the cervical 1/3 area. So what I do is kind of remove a little bit of wax slowly in the cervical 1/3 area. First, let us establish the crest of curvature on all the four sides. So I just remove a layer of wax beyond that point. This is just to make sure the crest of curvature on the buccal side lies in the cervical 1/3 area. So keenly notice, now this is the curve, a subtle curve, the crest of which is in the cervical 1/3 area. Now this is the crest. Let's go on to the lingual side. Similarly, the lingual side, the crest of curvature lies in the middle of middle 1/3. Okay, so for that, let us remove wax until the line where I have drawn. Do it slowly. Okay, then just remove wax. Just make sure the crest of contour or the crest of curvature lies in the middle of middle 1/3. Similarly, on the distal side, again the crest of curvature lies in the middle of middle 1/3, just like on the palatal side. So I draw the line and kind of removing the wax beyond the lines. So this is important step, so please make sure you get the crest of curvature on all the four sides properly, because if you get this done, your kind of work is around 40-50% done almost. So we have crest of curvature on the distal side, middle 1/3. The one side which is remaining is now mesial side. The mesial side is at the junction of incisal and the middle 1/3, so somewhere here. So similarly, let's complete this. Just round off the sharp line angles on all the four surfaces. Okay, if we notice the maxillary first molar on from the occlusal aspect, there are two separate angles. I mean to say, okay, let me explain with a piece of paper here. If you see the maxillary first molar occlusal surface, it's kind of a rhomboid shape with two angles more than 90° and two angles less than 90°. Now this is mesial, distal, lingual and buccal. Now this mesiolingual is more than 90, it's obtuse. Distobuccal is more than 90, again it's obtuse. Mesiobuccal and distobuccal is less than 90. So basically we want rhomboid. Okay, two angles are more rounded, two angles are a bit acute. So that's what we want to carve. Now if we see from the occlusal aspect, now this is buccal surface, this is distal surface, so I want this surface to be rounded. Similarly, this is lingual and this is mesial, so I want this surface to be rounded. So to just round these two line angles, just make sure you don't spoil the already created crest of curvature. I'm just rounding off those two line angles, which has to be more than 90, trying to make it obtuse. Mesiolingual and distobuccal. So if you notice now, this surface is more rounded, this is also a bit more rounded, correct? That's what we want. It's a rhomboid. Now also if you see in maxillary molar, and also if you see in maxillary molar, the buccolingual dimension is more than the mesiodistal dimension. The opposite of true is for mandibular molars. So the buccolingual dimension is more. This should be more than this. Now how to proceed next? So this is what is the occlusal surface. This is the mesiolingual, more rounded, and distobuccal, more rounded. The next step is I'm facing the lingual side towards me, so I will draw a midline. Now this is the midline. Now this is where I want my mesiolingual cusp. Okay, this is where. So I give more space for mesiolingual cusp, about 3/4 distance, because we know that mesiolingual is the biggest cusp. So you give 3/4 space and just draw a rough outline. On the buccal side, I will just approximately about half, or maybe slightly more than half on the distobuccal side. Right. So from here, mesiolingual cusp has two triangular ridges. One triangular ridge goes obliquely and joins the triangular ridge of distobuccal cusp. This forms the oblique ridge. Mesiolingual cusp has two triangular ridges. One triangular ridge runs obliquely and joins the triangular ridge of distobuccal cusp. It also has one more triangular ridge, a small one, which goes from mesiolingual cusp straight, not oblique, and joins the triangular ridge of mesiobuccal cusp, like this. Okay, so I'm still in mesiolingual cusp. Mesiolingual cusp has an oblique ridge which begins as a triangular ridge of mesiolingual cusp, joins the triangular ridge of distobuccal cusp, forms the oblique ridge. Mesiolingual cusp also has one more small triangular ridge which runs straight and joins the mesiobuccal cuspal triangular ridge. And this is your other cusp. So if this is mesiolingual, this is distolingual. So you can roughly draw the cuspal morphology. Let me show it on paper. Mesial, distal, lingual and buccal. So first what we did is we drew the midline. I want the mesiolingual to be the biggest, so I take 3/4 distance. I draw one more line. Then I take mesiobuccal, and this one is somewhere close to center or slightly more. Now mesiolingual cusp has two triangular ridges. One goes obliquely and joins the triangular ridge of distobuccal cusp, forming the oblique ridge. One more triangular ridge from the mesiolingual cusp goes straight and joins the triangular ridge of mesiobuccal cusp. So like this. And this is distolingual cusp that will have its triangular ridge. So we need to carve this. Let's see how to do. You can take whichever cusp to begin with to start. So maybe we can take distobuccal. So distobuccal is this. So distobuccal is this. So maybe we take the distobuccal cusp. So slowly, using the tip of the carver, you have to do it very slowly. Just remove wax in an oblique direction. Okay. Now one more good practice is, it's better to extend the line on the buccal and the lingual side where you draw the line, right? So this extend onto the buccal surface so that it kind of gives an guide. That will be your buccal groove. Similarly here, 3/4 line where you have drawn, just extend onto the palatal side. So this is your distobuccal roughly. We just started. Just make sure you remove all the wax residues. I hope it's quite seen properly. See, it is kind of slanting, it is going in an oblique direction. So we have just done one cusp, that is your distobuccal cusp. Similarly, we need to do now the mesiolingual and the other cusps. Before we do the mesiolingual, so this is distobuccal. Maybe we'll do the distolingual. Okay, this is distobuccal. We'll do the distolingual now, just opposite to that. So just opposite to this. This one needs to be straight. This is only oblique. This one is straight. So just remove slowly. Don't worry about the marginal ridges. We can always recreate. You can take any cusp, whichever you feel you're convenient. So I just took the distobuccal first. You can take any one, not necessarily that you should take the distobuccal. Now this is distobuccal, this is distolingual. If you notice, distobuccal is slanting, the triangular ridge, which is going to form the oblique ridge, whereas distolingual I made it straight. Now we'll see the mesiolingual. So mesiolingual has two triangular ridges, as I told you earlier. So maybe we'll do the smaller one first. This is the mesiolingual, the biggest cusp here. So I'll just remove a little bit of wax, the small triangular ridge, and then we'll go to the opposite cusp so that we can finish off that. You have to just remove little bit of wax only. You see this? The oblique ridge is kind of forming, right? Now this is going to be the oblique ridge. Mesiolingual cusp has two triangular ridges, one which joins this and another one which joins this. So we have to just remove some wax here. Carving a molar takes a little bit of practice, so you might have to do a couple of times before you actually get into it. Then upon that you just extend the groove, as I told earlier. Just extend the groove, and this will give you a definition to the cusps. Similarly on the other side. Once you do that, you might have to just kind of give this cuspal morphology by carving a globular appearance so that more definition is given to the tooth on all the four sides. On the four cusps. See, we have barely removed any more wax, but kind of you have the occlusal morphology ready with just only final touches remaining. Let me explain to you. This is the mesiolingual cusp. Now if you keenly see this mesiolingual cusp, it has two triangular ridges. One triangular ridge going and straight, and it is meeting the mesiobuccal cusp. Other triangular ridge is going oblique direction, and it is meeting the distobuccal cusp, and this is your mesiobuccal. Okay, so that's how you should have the cuspal morphology. And then one more important point is the mesiolingual cusp has cusp of Carabelli. So just here a semicircular groove-like thing, quite prominent groove, which segregates and make it a tubercle-like structure, is your cusp of Carabelli. That is the side identification, tooth identification feature, most importantly located in the maxillary first molar. So that's your cusp of Carabelli. You see this prominence, tubercle-like structure. Now that is your cusp of Carabelli. Apart from that, your work is almost done. See, you can see the cuspal morphology, and then your buccolingual dimension is more than the mesiodistal dimension. It's about by 1 millimeter. Okay, it's not very much. It's just 11 versus 10 millimeters. And then after that, just give this groove that gives more definition. Kind of give a globular appearance to the cusps, make it more pointed kind. No, not pointed, but I mean to say it's more globular, so that cuspal morphology is seen properly. And then carve the cervical line. Carving cervical line is important. Spend time and carve the cervical line properly. It gives a definition to the tooth. I've been saying during all the demonstration. Carving a good cervical line will take carving to a next level. Not just drawing it, you need to carve it. So as usual, we use the non-cutting surface of the carver and just give it a semicircular shape on all the four sides. Once you do that, just polish nicely using the polishing cloth. I hope all of you can see here. Now this is the mesiolingual cusp. This is the mesiolingual cusp. Observe the triangular ridge, one going straight, one going oblique. Biggest cusp. It also has got cusp of Carabelli. Then you have distolingual, distobuccal, and mesiobuccal. Okay, your buccolingual dimension should be more than the mesiodistal dimension. This is very, very important. Your buccolingual dimension should be more than the mesiodistal dimension. The opposite of that is true for mandibular molars, right? So it has two major and two minor fossae. The two major fossae are your distal fossa, which is located here, distal to the oblique ridge. This is a major fossa, and a central fossa, which is located mesial to the mesial to the oblique ridge. Distal and central fossa are the two major fossa. Two minor fossa are the one which is located here. One is mesial triangular fossa, other one is distal triangular fossa. So these are the occlusal morphological features of a maxillary molar. So it's quite important. Make sure you carve the cusp of Carabelli, additional cusp which is seen only on this tooth and commonly used for identification. Give these grooves here. That gives definition both on the buccal as well as the lingual sides. Give the grooves there and give the globular pattern or globular definition for the cusps, and make sure your buccolingual dimension is greater than your mesiodistal dimension. Carve the cervical line. Just to recap, first and foremost, you don't have to remove a lot of wax, number one. Number two, establish the crest of curvature on all the four sides. The moment you do that, that half work is done. Once you do that, give two obtuse and two acute angles. Once you do that, face the occlusal surface. Draw the central line. Give 3/4 of distance to your mesiolingual cusp. Once I draw the central line, I give 3/4 space for my mesiolingual cusp on the lingual side. On the buccal side, you can take it at half. Once you do that, roughly draw the oblique ridge and triangular ridges. And once you draw that, start with any one of the cusp. We started with, if I'm not wrong, I think we started with distobuccal, this one. And once we did the distobuccal, then we went on to distolingual. Then we started with mesiolingual and also the other one. So this is how you should carve a maxillary molar. And yeah, of course it takes some practice, and if you know how to do it, the amount of wax reduction is very less. So this is the occlusal surface. Now this is the mesial surface. You can appreciate the cervical line. This is the distal surface. This is the buccal surface, and this is the lingual surface. Okay, I hope all of you have learnt the technique of carving a maxillary molar. Happy carving. Thank you.